Your Excellency, Ambassador Anthony Phillips Spencer, President of the Trinidad and Tobago Washington, D.C. Association, Mr. Nigel Scott, and members of that association, members of the Trinidad and Tobago Diaspora Associations Network, members of the Women's Roundtable Action Platform, members of other associations, the Diaspora, citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Why? When the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Washington, D.C. invited me to address you on the topic Gaining Knowledge for Leadership and Service in Trinidad and Tobago in the year 2021 and beyond, I asked a question that has been burning in my heart forever. What will it look like if all Trinbagonians who live abroad can come home and come together and serve Trinidad and Tobago to improve its development? What is preventing this collaboration to ensure that after the pandemic, life will become more agreeable as we grow in mind and body and spirit? What are the problems? What are the pains? Members of the diaspora have said that the dream is difficult to achieve because of the many burning concerns about Trinidad and Tobago. And they include the fear of runaway crime, the rumors about bobble and corruption, the power of the economy in a few hands, and the politics of race relations. But the most frequently acknowledged concern was, and I quote, open quotations, opportunities are guided by politics and not by the genuine desire for sustainable development, close quotations. Many of the members of the diaspora say that they do not feel appreciated back home. They had ventured abroad either in desperation or in adventure to make a living for themselves and their families. However, as qualified as they do not feel welcomed. The barriers to returning to serve are formidable, they say. The foreign consultants, less qualified, are more considered. The challenge of the Trinbagonian diaspora starts with the auction definition of human migration, which says, and again I quote, migration is the movement of people from one place to another, usually across a political boundary, to take up permanent or semi-permanent residence. External migration is based on the familiar push-pull factors which are influenced by economics, social, political, and environmental issues. The impact of migration is multifaceted. It is felt by those left behind at the place of origin, those met in the new host country, and by family, and most importantly, by you, the migrant. The push-pain of migration may be due to poverty, to unemployment, the tension between groups, limited education and health facilities, and the lack of safety, as was previously expressed. The draw to the migrant lies in the opportunities that exist in the host country to alleviate that pain. And those opportunities include a higher standard of living, well-paid jobs, higher incomes, better housing, better health and education facilities, more food choices, and a safer environment. In one phrase, the draw to the migrant lies in an opportunity for a higher quality of life. Today, added to the trauma of migration is COVID-19, which has increased suffering. And then there is the personal isolation that comes with relocation. These factors add a newly recognized element to the pain. It is the psychological dimension. The United Nations Commission for Migration and the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, they speak of providing psychological first aid to help migrants. They recognize that the mental health issue of migrants is as essential to their well-being and their integration as their financial situation, and that both are linked. The emphasis is on providing psychological first aid to help those in vulnerable situations or crises. It was not surprising, therefore, that migrants from Trinidad and Tobago joined the rest of the world, the rest of the Caribbean, giving life to the United Nations quotation that, open quotations, the world is on the move to bigger and better things. Trinbagonians, we migrate mainly to the United States of America, to Canada, to the United Kingdom, and some Commonwealth countries. In today's global world, the number of migrants is higher than before. According to the United Nations, the midterm statistics of 2015 stated that 244 million international migrants lived in countries other than where they were born. It has said that if these numbers were considered a country, it would be the 5th largest country in the world. So large were the numbers that it was agreed that no one country could deal with migration independently. The Migrant Policy Institution in Washington said that over 450 government institutions worldwide and approximately 55 countries are engaged to service the diaspora movement. And these institutions and these countries coordinate efforts to provide sustainable solutions and secure a peaceful, prosperous future for all of us. After all, migrants sent the United States worth of $432 billion United States dollars to developing countries in 2015, contributing to economic and social development around the world. Therefore, with that big picture setting and our migrants' role in the global picture, let us discuss how you can work with us to develop a new Trinidad and Tobago in 2021 and beyond. What is the solution? The famous Canadian author, Malcolm Gladwell, a Jamaican by descent and son of migrants, he puts it well when he wrote his bestseller, The Outliers. Just a pause to say to you, as migrants, you must read that book, where Gladwell tells the story of the Italian migrants from Rossetti, who succeeded because they were band together to fight the harmful effects of migration. So now let's get back to Gladwell and his book, The Outliers, where he asks the critical question: what is the difference between those who do something special with their lives and everyone else? What is the meaning of success? And I want to pause here to ask you, what does success mean to you? How do you know when you have achieved success? In answering his question, Maxwell stated that success is based more on effort than ability. To help us understand his concept, Malcolm puts forward the theory of capitalization. And in his Microsoft research-sponsored lecture to graduate students, he questioned, what is the rate at which a society capitalizes on its potential? Quoting the James Flynn effect, he again teased minds by asking, when do people who are doing something end up doing that something? And again, he challenged us when he asked, how efficiently do we make use of the talent within a given group of people? What are the constraints that prevent capitalization? Gladwell answered his questions by proposing 3 constraints that prevent success. They are 1, poverty, 2, stupidity, or lack of good sense and judgment, and 3, attitude. He argued that poverty was a powerful constraint, maybe the most powerful of the 3. It has been known to make geniuses fail, he said. He asserted that the constraint of stupidity creates the conditions that make the best of us deny the others. And finally, he said that attitudinal constraints are based on the emphasis on ability rather than on effort. In this context, let's examine the success of you, the Trinbagonian diaspora. Research shows that the pull factors of many of our Trinbagonian migrants to go foreign, by and large, did result in some measure of visible success. Firstly, my Google search revealed that between 1960 to 2021, Trinidad and Tobago's migrant population to the United States of America was estimated to be 49,888 persons, and that 223,639 Trinbagonian Americans lived in the United States. We are the second largest West Indian cohort in the United States of America. In 2016, it was estimated that a much smaller number of approximately 78,968 Trinbagonians resided in Canada, with the majority living in Toronto. And according to the United Kingdom Office of National Statistics 2021, it was estimated that 22,872 Trinbagonians reside in the United Kingdom, of which 21,000 lived in England. Many believe that our diaspora surpasses that 3,225,000 count that I have guesstimated, because all journeys have not been identified. But this top-of-the-envelope breakdown attempts to provide a global perspective of our situation. We are approximately 325,000 in a world of over 244 million international migrants. Secondly, by and large, members of the diaspora are excited by the many new opportunities that exist, especially in technology. You have taken to the new world with great excitement and ready learning. And as one son said to me when he was a temporary migrant at a university in the United States of America, he said, at college, they teach subjects that you have never heard of. What an exciting time to be alive. Thirdly, many of the diasporas with whom I chatted said, we were lured by the increased incomes and improved quality of life that we may never have been able to enjoy back home. We have achieved success beyond our dreams. Fourthly, community networking does exist to hold hands and to provide psychological support for those who reach out. We all understand that relocation is a complex world to navigate. I must congratulate His Excellency Ambassador Anthony Phillips Spencer and the Washington, D.C. Embassy for facilitating the formation of the Trinidad and Tobago Diaspora Association's network and the Women's Roundtable Action Platform. These organizations were formed under his leadership due to the increased importance of diaspora engagement in advancing Trinidad and Tobago's interests and priorities. I also extend congratulations to President Nigel L. Scott and members of the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Washington, D.C. for the yeoman service you have provided for the previous 50 years. You continue to retool and relaunch another initiative where recipients will receive scholarships based on outstanding academic achievements, based on community service, on leadership, and based on financial needs. Your mission and tagline tell it all. Goes, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Washington, D.C. is devoted to promoting social welfare, charitable, educational, and recreational activities that can bridge the cultural and lifestyle gaps between the Caribbean community in the greater Washington, D.C. area and the general population. Indeed, acting with strength in culture and community. I have provided a glimpse into the world of our migrants. Let us discuss the journey forward. I looked at models around the world, from Ireland to Ghana, Singapore to the Philippines, China and India, to name a few. And I discovered that it appeared that successful immigration is based on more than the simple push-pull factors. Ireland, from where my maiden name, Hazel, originated, stood out for me. It is no surprise that the Irish are found everywhere. The Black Irish of the Caribbean have a unique history. Kingsley Aikins, CEO of the Network Institute and a very passionate Irishman, in his 2015 lecture, Diaspora Matters, began by defining his take on the word diaspora. To him, the term diaspora was more than the dictionary definition. And the dictionary definition says the dispersion of Jews among the Gentile after the Babylonian exile. He gave a completely new meaning to the word. Diaspora he describes as a form of soft power with the ability to get the outcomes that you want through attraction rather than coercion. In other words, it is a flexible and humane approach to successfully achieving goals. Keeping that meaning in mind, Aikins said that approximately 10 million persons migrated from Ireland, and about 70 million Irish persons were living around the world. The Irish consider them to be a terrific national asset because their contribution in remittances alone is significant. His contribution of hard cash made the soft power more powerful. Harvard professor Joseph and Kingsley Atkins carried out substantial research and concluded that diasporas are a perfect example of the concept of soft power. They argue that today's world is very connected and that everything is available at the click of a switch. And then they announced that the information age is over and we are now in the age of networking. We have to build connectivity from country to country, from city to city, from person to person, they advocated. And The Economist magazine, in its article, The Magic of Diasporas, agreed that migrant business ventures were changing the world's landscape. They concluded that it was the one bright spot in the world's economy, and that many successful migrants were making a name for themselves in global companies and taking the knowledge back to their home countries. They referenced China, Israel, India, Ireland, to name a few, where the diaspora has been networking their way to success. This phenomenon brings to mind John Maxwell's famous statement. Nothing of significance, he said, was ever achieved by an individual acting alone. Look below the surface and you will find that all seemingly solo acts are really team efforts. Aikins was adamant that there is the need to develop networking, which he described as building long-term hearts and minds in sustainable relationships. He made a passionate plea that we must listen to hear what the other person is saying, and then random chance will happen in a not too unexpected way. He was convinced that hanging out with certain people, as we say in Trinidad and Tobago, liming with our partners, and having strong connections with a few and weak relationships with many was the way to go. He concluded that it was about who knows you, and when you use technology smartly and cleverly while humanizing the touch, you're on a winning trajectory. You have the model to win. Are we winning in Trinidad and Tobago? Are we developing networks, building long-term hearts and minds in sustainable relationships? Are we world-class listeners, carefully listening to hear what the other person is saying so that we can respond appropriately? Are we? Are we making random changes happen in a not too unexpected way? Confidentially facing the unexpected and creatively achieving goals? Are we liming with certain people and developing strong connections with a few and weak links with others? Who knows us? Are we marketing ourselves and our services so that others know us? Are we using technology wisely, smartly, and cleverly? And as we use technology, are we humanizing our touch? Let me tell you what I discovered. I discovered a resounding yes to almost all the questions except one. Yes, our diaspora is building networks. The embassy was clear as it described the mission of the Trinidad and Tobago Diaspora Association's network, which is an umbrella organization comprised of professional, cultural, and secondary school alumni associations. And their mission is to mobilize its members to develop and implement programs and initiatives that promote the well-being, diversity, creativity, and upliftment of Trinidad and Tobago. Clear. TADAN was established in 2018 to raise funds to benefit the victims of the devastating floods in Trinidad and Tobago. Today, it is still standing. It is still standing in the time of COVID-19, focusing on delivering educational tools and programs to schools in Trinidad and Tobago. This non-profit organization also provides equipment and manipulatives for special needs students, while it supports the Trinidad and Tobago-based teachers, parents, and administrators to adjust to online education. Recently, TADAN provided a free 2-day webinar on the topic, The 21st Century Teaching. It attracted attendance of over 650 persons. The health subsector of TADAN also provides webinars to bring awareness to the challenges of COVID-19. It emphasizes coping with the issues of the pandemic, such as family mental health, vaccine hesitancy. It also created a platform to discuss the myths and the facts of COVID-19. At present, its emphasis is to ensure that Trinidad and Tobago citizens have access to the much-needed COVID-19 vaccines. Are you world-class listeners, listening to hear what the other person is saying? Yes, you are listening. You are very aware of the issues that plague our women. The network of the women of Trinidad and Tobago diaspora is focusing on mentorship. It's focusing on education, networking, and advancement of access to resources and relationships for meeting the needs of women in the Caribbean and United States of America. This group has worked closely with the Prime Minister's office, the minister in that ministry, the ambassador, and many prominent female leaders who are advocates against gender-based violence and who are for women's rights. Yes, you are listening to the youth. I have worked with the student and professional organization of Trinidad and Tobago, also known as SPOT, and they have initiated a mentorship program where youth internship is encouraged and supported. They have changed many young lives. Are we liming with certain people and having strong connections with a few and weak links with many? Yes, very much so. The worldwide impact of our cultural events is evident. For example, Carnival in Miami, in New York, Canada's Caribana, England's Notting Hill, all reflect our strong connection, not only worldwide, but also with our Caribbean neighbors. Are we making random changes happen in a not too unexpected way? Yes, we are. And I have followed your response to COVID-19. And I am really very, very impressed with the outreach of the alumni associations who are working actively to support the needs of their respective alma maters, as well as the larger communities. The embassy works assiduously with these groups to promote Trinidad and Tobago culture in the US and to support young scholars through scholarship funds. Are you using technology wisely and smartly and cleverly? Yes. You're not only distributing computers, but you're building capacity. One project stands out for me where members of the CIC alumni collaborated with stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago and the United Kingdom to create a platform to provide Trinidad and Tobago nationals to improve the digital landscape back home. The Digital Upskilling Transformation Initiative was launched under the auspices of the embassy in Washington, D.C. And now I ask the hard question. Who knows you? Who knows what you're doing? I have only mentioned a tip of the iceberg of your activities. Are you marketing yourselves and your services so that others know you? I have been told that you have started. The ambassador has been networking to bring many diaspora associations together. He has within his ambit associations from Arizona, New York, Baltimore, Delaware, Virginia, Central Florida, Georgia, Texas, and you, the Trinidad and Tobago Association of Washington, D.C. He's also supporting associations by type. For example, the Student and Professional Organization, SPOT, the West Indian American Military Members Association, and the Trinidad and Tobago Nurses Association. And the list continues to grow. Ladies and gentlemen, your ambassador has made the effort to put in place the foundation for the growth of a diaspora movement that will achieve the success of which Malcolm Gladwell spoke. He applied considerable effort to capitalize your goal of gaining knowledge for leadership and service to Trinidad and Tobago in 2021 and beyond. Therefore, my call to action to you is, do not let the opportunity pass by. Capitalize on his work. My suggestion to you is, like Ireland and Ghana and many other diasporas, call for a gathering of the diaspora. Next year, we can celebrate our 60th anniversary of independence and our 46th anniversary as a republic by calling for the gathering. Use the opportunity to call home all Trinbagonians from all over the world to meet and to greet and to get to know you. Follow in the footsteps of the outlier, Lord Kitchener, one of the first 5,000 West Indian migrants to the United Kingdom, who arrived on the ship, the Emperor Windrush. I'm sure you would have heard of that vessel that brought the first substantial group of post-war West Indian immigrants to Britain. He led the growth of the popularity of calypso music in Britain. He opened clubs and led that growth. And when he returned to Trinidad and Tobago, he took calypso music to a new height. Therefore, my final question to you is, do you have the resilience of the outlier, Lord Kitchener, to straddle both worlds with effort, with grit, with grace, to network and succeed, to serve to make Trinidad and Tobago what it ought to be in the year 2021 and beyond? And if so, how will you do it? Thank you.